So today's gonna be a special episode of Chasing Sunsets, because today we're not actually chasing a sunset. Despite the sun in South Central Pennsylvania, specifically Lancaster, PA, where I'm at, it has been raining like crazy. And so what I wanna do is I wanna drive around and check out some of the flooding. So that's gonna be today's episode on Chasing Sunsets.
Look at this video a viewer sent us of flooding near their home in Mount Joy. You can see that water moving in quickly as it floods the area. The borough saw over 7 inches of rain in just a few hours, leading to multiple water rescues and many reports of flooded basements. Now, emergency crews also responded to a sewage backup and a basement wall collapse caused by the flooding. We spoke to one resident who says he hasn't seen flooding like this in over a decade.
We've had a couple of places have some buildings washed out, some bridges washed out. Obviously, it's not on the same scale as what happened in Texas. You know, that was pretty devastating, but there is some pretty substantial flooding here in Lancaster, PA. So the last thing that I wanted to do was to go out yesterday during the storm to try to capture footage of flooding, and then me myself become one of the people that needed rescuing. So I wanted to wait till the day after to kind of go to the river to check out how much it's risen, and just to see. You know, we don't get a lot of hurricanes, we don't get a lot of earthquakes, we don't get a lot of tornadoes, but we do get flooding. I remember one time I was staying in the rainforest out in Puerto Rico. My friend and I were recording music, and it just started storming, like, you know, cats and dogs, like wild storming. You start seeing where the water moves, how the forest adapts to expel excess. Our infrastructure will suffer from that. You get too much, that's where you get flooding. If the city or whatever it is, whatever place you're living in can't expel the water fast enough, that's when you get flooding. And it's interesting. I like to go to these places when there's lots of water, because you get to see where the drainage, where the water naturally flows. You know, and just kind of learn from it. I don't know if we're gonna see any examples of that today, but you know, obviously we'll see the river. The river is an example, an extreme example of just expelling water. I didn't think about any of that stuff until my mom just recently bought a house out in the country. How you build your house is important, because if you don't build your house with a strong infrastructure or without taking consideration the flow of water, you could really screw yourself up. Now in a city, you don't necessarily have to deal with that. There's parts of it you have to deal with, but you don't have to deal with it as a whole, because for the most part, the city itself is the one that is expelling excess water. I don't think most people, especially when you're kids, think about how water flows outside of where you live. You know, that's a very like old person type of topic. And here I am. This road over here is closed, so I see people kind of going past it. I'm gonna do the same, but only just to, you know, only kind of just to see the flooding. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble here. Emergency scene ahead. Oh, there's an emergency scene ahead. Vamos a ver. Yeah, I guess, man, I wonder if this whole like little town was flooded out here. I don't know. I think the most important thing, you know, the most important thing for you, the watcher, if you are somebody that just kind of wants to, you know, if you want to take pictures of stuff, I think one of the most important things, and now we're getting into the flooding because it's muddy as shit right here. For you as the viewer, you gotta be hyper vigilant. If you want to get something, you want to capture something, the worst thing that you can do is become part of the problem. So when you're out here and you're doing these things, do so with care and do so with the understanding that if you're coming out here to take pictures, or if you're coming out here to do A, B, C, or D, now you have to be saved or you have to be rescued. You've become part of a problem. I'm not like super adventure, crazy, adrenaline kind of dude trying to come out here and put myself in a dangerous situation. That's not what my definition of adventure is. Holy cow. Yeah, so you can see right here, it's actually kind of interesting. The water isn't even really flowing, like not even a little bit. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if the dam's backed up or what. And they're just kind of waiting till it fills so they can dump it out or something, but there's like literally no water flow at the top. It's just kind of still. Just like very still. It looks like a lake, and this is a river. And the river flows pretty fast. I don't want to say super fast at this part, but it flows here. Back there, I think wherever the roads had washed away, they started doing construction, and at that point, it's like people working. It's people doing stuff. Like, at what point do I need to stop and be like, hey, this is just a YouTube video. I don't need to be going, I'm not a reporter. I'm not trying to go in there and be like, wow, look at all this stuff. I just want to go out and get out of the house because I've been editing for so much. I needed to just get out and see the world instead of being in my little cave like a troll. Yeah, I think I'm going to go to another spot down by the dam and just document what's down there. It's interesting to see this river because it's an old river. It's the fourth oldest. Some people say the oldest. I don't know, but it's one of the oldest rivers in the planet. And in a lot of ways, it's been tamed. It was always kind of a rocky river. From what I understand, it wasn't super deep. But now, because it's been dammed a few times, it's very deep. People go kayaking, people do all kinds of stuff in the river, and it always demands our respect. It demands to be taken care of. It demands to be respected. You can't just go out and just do your thing no matter what. You really got to be able to read the currents, read what's happening. There have been deaths on this river, and especially when it's raining and when it's like this was when it's the most dangerous because it's savage. It's a savage living thing. This is where the Conestoga River meets the Susquehanna River. Even though it's like really manicured, very man-made type right here, I do appreciate this place, and I find it a very symbolic place because of the simple fact that the Susquehanna is the name of the tribe of the people that lived here before, and the Conestoga are kind of what people called them. Let's turn this around so we can see where we're going. More. There's all of this driftwood and all kinds of stuff just washing away. Now there's always from what I know, there's always driftwood and stuff like that gathering here because this is the mouth of one river going into the mouth of going into another river. But yeah, a lot of that is definitely from the rains. Just on the other side of this bridge, this is where the Conestoga meets the Susquehanna, which are the two names for the tribe that was here in Lancaster, and the Susquehannock tribe. I'm heading back home. You know, I'm sweating, but not profusely. So that means I'm a little dehydrated. And like I feel my mouth getting dry, so I need to go out. I need to go out and get something. Get some water. I think this has been a special Chasing Sunsets kind of video to me because I thrive off of authenticity. If I, the adventurer, is trying to sell you on the idea of getting out and getting out of your house, of course, not every adventure that you have is going to be this like cathartic, eye-opening experience. Sometimes it's just getting out of the house and going for a drive. Today was that, you know, a little anticlimactic. I didn't see any like washed out places, but then again, for real, I didn't go to where the major flooding has been because, again, I'm not a reporter, I'm not a journalist. I'm not going out there to try to capture what's happening in the everyday of these people's lives. I just wanted to see what the river in general kind of was like. And I got to see it. You know, I got to see a little bit of the debris, a little bit of the aftermath, a little bit of the mud on the streets. I ain't mad at it, or whatever. I get to see big, beautiful farms. I get to drive around. I'm blessed, man. And you know, being cooped up in my office, editing, I like it. But it can make you forget that there's a world that's just like turning. The world is turning. While you're doing your thing, while you're locked up in your cave, while you're focused on whatever you need to focus, the world is turning. And maybe that was the message for me today. Maybe it wasn't to capture the spectacle of these floods that are happening here in my region. Maybe to just get the heck out of my cave and remember that the world is still turning. Please like, comment, subscribe. On the next episode of Chasing Sunsets, maybe there'll be an actual sunset. Who the hell knows?